I'm definitely in.
Bring it.
That's to you, Higgy.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, you guys can't do that.
Do what?
You're colluding under the table. I saw you were doing something.
Oh, they're playing footsie.
No, you know what? He's right. You can't do that. You could be signaling what cards you have.
I swear, we're not cheating.
That's exactly what someone who's cheating would say.
Oh, come on, this is absurd. We are cheating. We're not really good at it, are we? I mean, Thomas's chip stack is twice the size of ours put together.
Exactly. All the more reason for you to want your money back.
Oh, do you really want to start talking about who owes whom money at this table?
Oh!
Well, she does have a point there. Poker is not a team sport.
Okay, fine. You know what? I'll make this easy. I'll fold.
Yeah, I'm out too.
Okay. Here comes the flop. Great. That's to you.
Sorry, I was just throwing up a little bit in my mouth. I'll check.
Okay, seriously, guys? We're in the middle of a big hand here.
What do you want us to do? Ignore each other?
I mean, you could get a room.
Good idea.
Yeah, get a room. That's my vote.
Don't you dare answer that.
I don't want to.
Juicy balls. I know.
Dr. Shaw. Yeah, I'll be right there. I'm sorry.
Look who's on fire now!
Oh, come on.
Oh.
I see you, Kumo. Hey, look who's back.
Oh, that was fast. What happened?
Don't ask.
No way you had timed it. Yeah.
Why are you eyeing our chips like a starving hyena?
Can we just shut up and play, please? Kira, would you do?
Okay.
Watch out, guys.
Over 180 credits. I mean, voice acting from American Dad, Lelio and Stitch, the film and the series, King of the Hill, HBO's Happily Ever After. She has reoccurring roles on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and the CBS sitcom Mom, Just Add Magic, Enlightened, and Magnum PI. This wonderful actress, she is the wonderful, the vibrant, the funny, the real Amy Hill. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Oh, thank you so much for being here today.
I'm happy to be here with you. I mean, I'm in LA right now. I'm leaving for Hawaii again in a week.
Oh, isn't that
But-
nice?
Yeah, that's why I'm at my sister's. She's in LA.
Right. Right. So
Mhm.
first question that came to my mind was, how do you get your comic timing? How did it happen?
You know, I think you either have it or you don't.
Mhm.
So for me, I started doing I started being funny in my head when I was young. I was afraid to say any of it out loud because I thought people would think I was weird. So I always thought people and things around me, situations that happened were odd. So I would, in my head, have sort of a comic timing. My mother, who is Japanese, had also a very strong sense of comic timing. So she would be able to, tell a story and then always have like a nice pause before she had the blow off line.
Right.
I don't think she studied it. I think you just have it. And I don't even know if you know that you are doing that when you're doing it. So I sort of had, I sort of developed it, I guess, as I went along. And then when I was in San Francisco, I was starting working at the Asian American Theater Company, and literally, I started doing improvisational comedy there, and that it came from Del Close, where it was actually, Del Close is like the father of improv in Chicago. Yeah. So, but he wasn't in San Francisco, but people who had studied with him, and they did political agitprop kind of improvisation.
Yeah.
But they also were not trying to be funny. They were trying to be real, and would find the situation the comedy in the situation and real characters dealing with the situation. So we were always reminded not to try to be funny, which was easy for me because I was terrified of improv. And so a lot of times people would laugh, and I would think, why were they laughing? Because I would just be in the background ironing, or, opening a door, closing a door, and doing the best job I could and doing those things. And people would laugh. And so in the examination analysis of the laughter, I would find that it was always because I was being an honest actor in the situation. And so they would recognize something in there that reminded them of something, or, there would be a pause, and that pause, how it gets kind of like filled. And then when they're given the opportunity to react, it's an explosion of laughter.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what's going to happen next,
Oh, yeah.
So those are things you don't plan, you can't make happen. You just have to be authentic and honest in the situation. Most of the time, 80% of the time, I'd be like, why were they laughing? What was funny? I don't know what happened, Yeah. But then you gain, you don't know you're going to be funny, but you know that you need to follow through in that authentic way. And it either is going to die on its feet, or it's going to be really amazing. So that's what you learn. And hopefully people will laugh.
Right. Now, did you do improv before you did stand-up, or?
I never really did stand-up.
Yeah.
I did it once, just a couple of years ago, because somebody asked me to. But, stand-up is scary. When you're doing improv, you have other people you can depend on.
Yeah.
And in the early 90s, I was asked to do a solo performance, which was comedy, but I wasn't planning it to be funny. I was just, telling a story, and it was funny.
Yeah.
But it was also very touching. I wasn't trying to be touching either, but,
Right.
some of the events in my life were sad.
Right.
So, or thoughtful or whatever. So I'm always just trying to be honest in a situation.
Yeah.
But then people will laugh, and they think I'm, trying to be funny.
Well, that's what makes you such an incredible actress, because you come from that real place, and you seem to find the comedy, the humor in the serious moments.
Right.
And it just happens that way. It just comes out that way because you're using your vessel, so to say, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I did comedy sports for a while,
Yeah.
Comedy sports, and that is like, you have to be funny.
Right.
And sometimes I was just tired.
Yeah.
And so I would react honestly, and the audience would just go crazy. And I thought, well, I'm the only one up here being honest. Are you ready to play? And I'd be like, yeah, I was tired. I wasn't trying to get a laugh, but in reality, it was like, it's 10 o'clock at night. I'm too old for this. Why do we have to be so upbeat?
Right. Well, I know. When you were, I researched about San Francisco, and I was thinking, I wonder how long you were there, because I grew up in the Bay Area, and I went to ACT.
I did too, for a minute.
Oh, well,
because ACT was like,
Yeah.
they thought improv and Asian American Theater Company was not important. So, you know what I mean? they were like, you can't do that and this. And I was like, well, I'm going to do that then.
Good.
So
Good.
there you go.
I only did their summer congress, which was,
Mhm.
you know, it was like 10 weeks of intensive, you know, learning and ballet and this and that. But
Well, how old were you?
I had just, that was 91.
Oh,
I think I was, well, I graduated from college, San Francisco State in 88. In fact, I did a show, I did Endgame with Elaine C.
wow.
in San Francisco
That's
State.
so great. Yeah, I left in 87. I was in San Francisco from 79 to 87.
Oh.
Yeah, those were my years.
I was, and you know, I see all these places you grew up, you were born in, oh, I have it here. You
It's
were
okay.
born in Deadwood,
Yes,
and then you went to Seattle?
yes. And
Then-
after I graduated from high school, that's where I started act. I mean,
In Seattle.
yeah. I mean, I performed on my front porch in Deadwood and in Seattle, but then I started training in high school. Training, if you can call it that. But you know, and I was a serious dramatic actor. I was like, I need to suffer for my art. I told people that.
You're right. Oh my God.
And then I moved to Tokyo to go to university. And you know, and I think that's where I sort of honed my humor. because it was always, every day was something crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Crazy people on the train. It's like moving to New York. It's just a lot more crazy people. Interesting, surprising.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah. I want to pause for just a second. I noticed
Mm-hmm.
for some reason today, you're speaking and then you're mouthing it after for some reason today. It doesn't always happen, but you know how that does that?
yeah, so we're not syncing.
We're not syncing.
Hmm.
And you know, sometimes it happens for like a minute or two, but then it sinks back in. But
Okay. Well, I'm just looking to see if everything, well, my side looks good when I look at myself.
this is my side.
Yours is good too. It's perfect.
All right. Well, I
I
say
don't know.
we'll go with it. We'll call the
Okay.
episode in sync.
Okay.
Tokyo Bound. Tokyo Bound. Oh, and you know what I noticed too? I was like looking at your clip from live from Lincoln Center. How amazing was that experience?
That was.
Fair lady, you think you have fools in hand?
Now, sir, I have not you by the hand.
Marry, but you shall have. Here's my hand.
You are dry, sir.
Well, I think so. I'm not such an ass, but I can keep my hand dry. What's your metaphor?
Why, a dry wit, sir.
No. What's your jest, sweetheart?
Nay, think not on it, sir. More of your conversation would infect my brain.
You know, it was interesting because I was working on a series before I went to Lincoln Center. I mean, theater is my first love, you know, working in front of a live audience. If I could just do multi-camera sitcoms, I'd be fine. You know, I like having an audience. So I worked on this multi-camera sitcom, which was, what was it called? Oh, The Naked Truth with Taya Leone. And it was just a hellish season, just miserable. And after that, I thought, I just want to do theater. And I told my agents like it would happen. I said, I want to go to New York and do a play. And I got a play in New York. I got the most amazing play, Twelfth Night,
Right.
with Nicholas Heitner directing, who just directed The Madness of King George. And then he moved on to direct the National Theater.
Yeah.
Just a fancy schmancy director.
Yeah.
And it was so amazing to be able to be in New York with, you know how New York actors are. They all think they're better than everything. So, and I remember they thought I was from the East Coast, and I said, you know, we do theater on the West Coast too.
That's right. And in between.
Right. And, you know, I'd studied the classics at ACT for a minute, but, you know, I mean, I'd also done it a lot. Dakin Matthews was sort of my Shakespeare mentor.
Mm.
And, you know, he's like the genius Shakespeare guy here.
Yeah.
I mean, I was at Antaeus in the very beginning when it started, and that was like a master class every time, every Monday. We would do, it was just crazy amazing. So I knew how to do classical theater, but I never got the opportunity to do it ever. Because being Asian American, you don't really have those opportunities, you know. But Nicholas Heitner, he cast incredibly diverse. It was a beautiful cast.
Well, it's so important, especially today. It's like it's bursting out of the windows, diverse casting.
Right.
At Performing Arts Studio West, we have over 100 students, which have different abilities, so to say.
Right.
When I was looking at you know, your work and that you love teaching, and you are a teacher, you have been a teacher and a producer and a director. And I thought, oh my God, everybody would love you there. And I would love you. I would, you know, if you ever start teaching a class again, I'm going to jump back in. Well,
you know, the hardest thing teaching I found after a while was being able to commit to every Monday or every Tuesday or a 6-week session, because inevitably you get a job and then, you know, I just don't like to not be able to follow through on a commitment. So
yeah, well, especially
sometimes I'll do little like master classes on the weekend or whatever.
Right.
I know, but there's a lot of wonderful teachers.
Oh yeah.
Way better than me.
Oh, well.
Out there.
You know, I remember, you know, even films like, I mean, one of my favorites, I Saw You in White Frog by Quentin, you know.
Oh, that's so funny. Yes.
I just saw that. You know, I love the film, but that scene, you blew me away.
You're so sweet.
You know, and I had seen you on TV and film before, and I was just, you know, when you see somebody that just sucks the air out of you in a good way. And it was brilliant.
You're so sweet.
My mother died and I can still hear her. Oh, you're so smart. Why you don't become doctor? Oh, shrink not doctor. Shrink just somebody you pay so they pretend to like you. Yeah, you gotta be doctor, then marry doctor, then have baby. Someday gonna be doctor, or mommy gonna die.
Was it your fault that she died?
Oh, who knows? Maybe that's why she's still on my case. Dead people, they come and go like they own you. Sometimes I feel like taking a restraining order out against her. Oh, so messy! Oh, you gotta clean sometime. You know, every day, just a little bit by little bit. Then one day, oh, surprise! Oh, clean.
I have to say, I was with Alec Mapa the other day, and years ago, we had this concept for a pilot where the people, it was a private investigative agency, and everybody who worked there, who was in the agency, were people of color, people with had disabilities or challenges of some kind. Because, you know, in those days, maybe now too, we were invisible. So the best way to have us like infiltrate anything was to go in as the people of color or the people in, because nobody would even notice us.
Yeah.
So we were really good at our jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we already, my dream was to make a pilot which was peopled with people that are never cast.
Yeah.
But not, and you would not focus on the fact that they were in a wheelchair or they were Black or they were whatever they are. They were just people and they did their job. And it wasn't like, you know, because that's how we, I think, generally are, you know, with somebody that is missing a leg, or if somebody has like a big giant port wine stain, or, you know, I remember on Preacher, I was working with somebody who wasn't disabled, but in the show, he had blown his face off. So he was called, did you ever watch Preacher?
You know, I think I watched 1 or 2 episodes, but
well, he was called, I think he was called Arseface, because literally his face looked like a sphincter. And I thought to myself, how am I going to talk with this man? And in the first scene, I remember the first time I saw him, I was like, wow. And then after a while, you just don't notice it anymore. You really don't. That's gone.
Yeah.
Isn't it true?
Oh, it's so true. I mean, it's so interesting, and I was so blessed, and I've said this before on different times, but I was so blessed to be in Hollywood or in LA, and my extended family turns out to be this community, and I don't think about, you know, this person in a wheelchair or that person with Down syndrome. I think, well, there's Jamie and there's Toby and there's, you know.
Right. I mean, I think you don't not see it. I mean, the first time you meet them, you actually do go like,
right.
How do I react to this? And then within moments, you're just like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's like my mother, who was, you know, Japanese, weird, had a big, thick accent, which is all I saw. And then she was working in a hospital kitchen, and I remember going to pick her up one day, and everybody in that kitchen was from somewhere else. And it was like this cacophony of thick accents from Eastern Europe, Mexico, I don't know where they were from, but they didn't hear that, they didn't see that.
Yeah.
They just saw each other as people. And that was the first time I think I realized how superficial those things are, that they aren't really what really describes who you are.
Well, and I mean, at this time that we're all going through, it seems to have come to a head again, where people can't see. I don't know. I feel like I'm from another planet sometimes, because I'm all about, hey, we're all family here, and then So yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Asian hate stuff. They see the Asian, they don't see the person.
Yeah.
You know, when a Black kid comes out of is stopped by the cops, they don't see a person, they see a Black dangerous man. Yeah. Even if it's like for, you know, nothing. We have to be able to, you don't have to not see it. You're not blind to it, but you have to see that they are, in my mind, if you imagine they're your children, if they are, well, because I'm a mother, but if they are your children, there's no difference between any of them. You would take care of everybody the same way if they're your children.
Yeah.
So anyway, on our show, Magnum, we do have a guest star who I love.
Yes.
Christopher, help me. Anyway, and he actually plays a vet in a wheelchair, and he's not a vet. I don't think he had an accident. He hiking or something, rock climbing, but he's an actual guy in a wheelchair. And his first episode, he had to surf.
Wait,
and he didn't know how to surf. And they said, you're going to learn how to. And they stuck him on a surfboard. And he's out in the ocean.
I love it.
But you know, that's what I love. He's a great actor.
Yeah.
He had an accident a long time ago, but he was an actor before. He's still an actor now. He doesn't have the use of his legs, but you know, he's amazing, and he doesn't see anything, and neither do we, I don't think, see anything as something he can't do. It's always just like, well, let's see how we can make it work. Yeah. And he's the same way. And that's what I love about Magnum, is that they are trying to.
Now, it was so fun because the other day I moved from LA right now to be with the family up north again.
And
I'm with my brother and my mother, and I'm constantly working, and my brother's doing his stuff, but he also watches a lot of TV. And I walked in and Magnum was on, and I said, oh, there's Amy. And he said, oh yeah, she's wonderful. And
I know her.
I know her. I
do the same thing all the time. I'm always like, I know him.
I know it's now more and more now. I'm like, whenever, especially coming back to the home base where I grew up, the little, San Mateo area kind of thing. And oh, look, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was so fun to work with you on Big Gay Love, Ringo Lee.
I love him. I wish I could eat his food every day. Oh, Jesus. I have you eaten any of it?
I have. I went to when he used to have his place in Palo Alto,
I know. I mean, I didn't know his mom was a restaurant owner, chef, cook person.
Yeah. Yeah. So
she cooks. So anyway.
No. So let's say a student was going to come up to you and say, I love to act, but the one thing and I get the emotion out. I know how to hit the comedy and this and the real coming from a real place. But the thing that stresses me out the most is the lines, worrying about the lines, and then afraid that I'll not have the line come out. How do you guide a student to that?
Well, I'm not always great at everything, because I will let my nerves get the better of me many times, especially if I think it's something that I really want to do. I really want to do this show. So yeah, I will get more involved in who's in the room, how do they seem, how they're reacting to me. I mean, I just get involved in too much stuff. So for me, in an audition, I think the best thing for me to do is to try to think of it as just a performance. It's really hard to do that because it's such an artificial environment. You don't have anything, and you have one person reading the lines back to you, like they're off camera, and there may be 3 people.
Right.
And it doesn't have any reality base at all. So it's like really creating in your imagination the environment.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't even look at the person that I'm supposed to be talking to, because they throw me off because they don't look right. They're just casting people. They're not necessarily good actors. So I just try to, and then I always hold the script, always, just in case I go off. But, generally I will know the lines well enough to be able to understand what the beats are. I do a script analysis. I don't know, you know what that is. Yeah. So I know the script analysis helps me understand what the beats are and what my intentions are. So if I don't say the line exactly right, it's okay, because I'm saying what I'm trying to say, but maybe not in exactly the way it's written on the page. I mean, I try to do word for word, and I don't try to, make it different or better. I mean, I'm actually trying to just say what I think is trying to be intended.
Yeah.
Anyway, but on set, when I'm acting with an actor, I don't have trouble with lines, because you're in the environment that you're supposed to be in. I mean, there might be cameras and stuff and lights and things like that, and people, those things never bother me, because I will hear people go, quiet. And I'm thinking, I didn't hear anything. In my mind, I'm just in my little world.
Right.
And I don't have a problem with any of it. I'm believing the moment, and I've done my script analysis, and the lines are not lines. They're now thoughts that are coming out of me. And so I don't worry about anything. It all makes sense. Just like, if you get to rehearse a theater piece, they're not lines. You're not actually memorizing lines. You're actually just not memorizing. You're just going from moment to moment to moment in a natural progression. And those words are thoughts that are coming out of you to get to the next moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in a real situation, I'm not memorizing anything.
Yeah.
But in a bad situation, like an audition, it's harder sometimes to create that same feeling.
Well, I know that you said that you love to be in front of an audience and you get that energy, but and I also know that you do a lot of voiceover.
Yes.
How is that? How is your enjoyment of that?
You know, I say that animation scripts are oftentimes better than any live action scripts, because I guess they have a lot more freedom to be imaginative, because there's no they can just draw it, you know, everything's goes. And the people, the writers, the directors, the other cast, they're all incredibly talented, really funny, generous. I love the engineers, even are lovely to be around. So those environments make me so happy.
Yeah. That's one of my
hate
dreams.
leaving.
One of my dreams is to be, you know, behind that and just character out. It's just having fun with it. Oh.
And everybody does. I mean, they're genius. I do my little thing. I'm usually old grandma, Chinese grandma or some kind of thing like that. And so I do my thing, but I look around and I'm like, these people are psychotic. They're so able to flip-flop between distinctly different characters with different voices and different personalities and histories. And I mean, they're fully realized people that they create, and they go boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, wow, they're amazing.
And you were talking about grandma, and I was thinking of your show, All American Girl.
Yes.
Whoa! Oh, I almost put my key in your belly button.
Amoni, we were so worried.
Thank God you're safe.
Grandma, are you okay?
Everyone, this is Sammy Young. He gave me a ride home.
Oh, well, thank you for bringing my mother back safe and sound.
Grandma, I looked all over the mall for you.
I found her at the electronics store. She was standing in front of the Great Wall of TVs.
I was hypnotized.
We'd like to repay you for your kindness. Won't you come to dinner tomorrow night, Mr. Young?
Oh, I'm sorry I can't. I have a date. Pick you up at 7.
Don't be late.
Well, you know, I did my mom all through my time in San Francisco, you know, in improv. If we ever had a tough situation, they'd say, Mrs. Hill needs to go in. So I'd be like my mom and go in, and literally I would just channel her. I didn't know where she was going, but she was just reacting off what was going on in a very honest way. And then she'd say crazy stuff, but it was something I never planned. I never knew what she was going to say, never knew what she was going to do. I just sort of went with whatever was happening. And she was fine in any situation. You got to find those characters.
Right.
That you can throw into anything.
And you sure have like a plethora. That's one of my favorite words, plethora.
It is a beautiful word.
What brings you the most joy in life?
Well, theater, I have to say, working in front of an audience, finding that groove where you're not thinking, you're just being all the time on stage, and you can feel the audience. You get this energy, right, from the audience. You feel like you're bigger than you are. You just feel full on stage, which I never feel like on film or TV, unless it's multi-camera. But I don't feel that same way on doing the other things. I mean, you know, I work hard to try to be authentic, but I don't have that same full feeling. Because the stage is where the actor is king or queen.
Because there's no stopping there.
No, there's nothing between me and my performance. You know, there's not going to be somebody stepping in going, cut. Can you do that again with a little, you know, I mean, I have to, when I'm doing film or television, like Magnum, they'll give me a note and I just think, I don't really feel it, but, you know, I'll give it a shot. You know, I have to sort of compromise my instincts sometimes. They usually let me do what I want, but every once in a while a director, because we have different directors for every episode.
Right.
You know, a director will come in and say something just crazy. And I'm always, you know, I should give it a shot, you know. I don't know what the absolute perfect answer is to anything. I'm just, you know, trying my best. But maybe their idea is okay, so I try.
Well, how do you deal with that when a director or somebody comes up to you and gives you a thought of, can you do this or do that, and he doesn't explain it. Can you do it faster? That kind of. What is your process for that?
My process is to, in the moment, I mean, I think that's what we have to do as actors on film and television in that medium, because it's so fast. You don't have time to discuss it. You know, we got to get this shot in the can. We're going to lose light. So my job is to rationalize it. I think it comes from, you know, when I lived in San Francisco, I also did voiceovers. That was how I made my living. Commercial voiceovers. So you don't get the script until you get in the room and you see the script and you have to make choices immediately on everything.
Right.
So I feel like in many ways, you could make 100 million choices and they would all be okay. You just have to justify them in your head, rationalize why that would be an okay choice. So I'm able to do that.
Yeah.
So if he asks me something crazy, I'll just go, okay. And then quick, try to change everything. I mean, it happens in auditions. Sometimes I have a character and she has an accent because she's from the Philippines or something. And they'll say, do it without an accent. That's a different person. Do they know that? The person who doesn't have an accent is a different human with a different history than the one I've created. But that happens all the time in auditions. Right. Can you do that? Yeah. You just go, yeah, just 180 degrees. Okay. All right.
Well, you mentioned you have done one-woman shows, and the trilogy Tokyo Bound, Reunion, Beside Myself. What is the joy about doing a one-person show?
Well, I think historically, none of, you know, people of diverse backgrounds or differently abled, their stories aren't told. Their stories could be told by people who aren't people of color. That happens a lot. So you think, how do they know anything? They're making shit up. Right. So when it's told from you, your story is being told from you, that's an opportunity to share something really personal. But at the same time, when you go in personal like that, you find that becomes the catalyst for people to explore their own stories. They find so much in common with you that you don't even know you have. So when I would tour my show, Tokyo Bound, which was really about me going to Tokyo and being biracial and not understanding my mother and just a bunch of stuff. It was an identity piece. People came up that were African-American and they'd gone back to Africa, you know, which was very far from their history, but it was in their history. And just knowing, like old Jewish ladies would come up and go, that's my story, you know, and you think, what? But it wasn't specifically their story, but it was their way of being able to connect to their story. And that was something that was really I think, a wonderful thing that you were able to share with people. Because sometimes people would tell me their stories and I go, Jesus, you need to write a show. A lot of good stories out there. You just scratch the surface of anybody.
Yeah.
And their story will be amazing. So I don't know why we have to have these, reboots or.
I know, like.
There's so many stories out there.
Psycho. How many times do you have to?
Yeah. Why?
What do you want the most at this moment in your life?
Well, right now I'm working on a movie with some older actors. And I'm working with Lois Smith, who is 91. And she is an inspiration. You can tell that she loves to act. She loves doing what she does. And she is so invested in doing as authentic a job as possible. I mean, she knows her lines. She understands what she's doing. She understands the comedy of it. She doesn't miss a beat. She's amazing and never complains. We did a night shoot the other day of the other older ladies, and we're like, oh man, I don't like night shoots. She's like, oh, where's the restroom? She's totally fine. Oh, are we done? Yeah, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, Lois. We can go home now. So she's inspirational, and I want to be like her. She just, before the pandemic, she just closed a show on Broadway. I can't hear you now.
Well,
now I do.
Yeah, I muted myself for a second because, of course, the maid is here today, or the cleaning maid. She just came.
Yeah, I know, I understand. I don't hear anything, it's fine.
I'm so here. Well, I want to thank you so much. This has been.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Really, I'm so glad you give all these, you take the time to make these opportunities, I think, which is really important. You do. The fact that you have this workshop.
Well, I love people. I love connecting people. I love connecting different places like Joy Travolta's Inclusion Films, and where I'm working now, Performing Arts Studio West. And when I first got to LA, I was waiting tables, doing the acting thing, and I met this wonderful woman, Mary Rings, who opened the door, and there was Born to Act Players, who had over 30 actors who happen to have Down syndrome, and it became a family.
Well, that's the thing. When I first moved to LA, I remember CTG used to have these conferences. They had a Chautauquas, which is a new word.
I love
Chautauqua.
That.
Yeah, they would have
these... everyone, Chautauqua.
Do you know what was her name? Valerie? Victoria. She had something. I don't know what she had. Some kind of physical thing. But Victoria was the head of it, and it was so remarkable to see dancers and singers and actors, all of different abilities, coming together from across the country to advocate for their rights as artists.
Yeah.
Performing artists, and they were brilliant. So they'd have performances all weekend long, and you'd just be like, we need to see this everywhere.